All right, we are now joined by Brad Keselowski, who is currently first in the Sprint Cup Series points. Brad, you're off to a great start this season. And tell us about racing here at Auto Club and this solid start you guys have had.
Yeah, it has been a solid start. I think we've done everything but win a race, and that's where our focus is at this weekend for sure, being able to win the race. We've certainly got a strong, consistent start, but we've been in position to really, on the final restart of each race, win and have come up just a little bit short. So hopefully we can close that out today, or this weekend, I should say. And I think we've got the car to do it, the team to do it. So, we're ready to get on the track, get going. We've obviously got practice and qualifying here today. I'm curious how this race is going to play out. I honestly think this is going to be an exceptional race. I think this new car, the Generation 6 car, acts and reacts a lot like the Nationwide car does. And you combine that with a track that has multiple grooves in the corners, and a car that I think has the potential to draft really well, and I think it could be a great race. So, I'm pretty optimistic about it. I'm glad I'm running the Nationwide race. I think it'll be a good experience beforehand, and a lot of things to look forward to for sure.
All right, we'll open up for questions. Just state your name and affiliation. We'll get wireless mic to you. We'll start with Claire and go to Woody and then Lee.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. How much will aero play into tightening up the cars here, do you think?
A lot. It plays into spreading them out, and it plays into bringing them back together. This track is almost in a sweet spot of age where it's, just new enough to where it hopefully won't need to be repaid for a long, long time, and just old enough to where it produces tire wear and, the ability to run multiple grooves throughout the corner. So that ability to run multiple grooves kind of eliminates some of that dreaded aero push that you feel in the corners, because obviously if you're in another lane, you don't get that. But then the fact that it's a big, long track, as far as straightaways are concerned, when the cars finally do kind of merge back into each other's paths aerodynamically, they're going to draft really, really well. So, that should be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Woody Kane with MRN. Brad, after this weekend, you get a rare weekend off, got big plans, Easter egg hunt, what's going on?
No, I'm one day at a time, not even 1 week, one day at a time. So I haven't even thought that far. I probably should. But no plans so far.
Lee?
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. I guess we've all seen the Miller commercial now since it's airing during the NCAA game.
A lot, yes, it's airing a lot.
Can you talk a little bit about how that all came together? Were the other three guys actors, and, just bring us up to date?
Well, after last year, I had a lot of fun at the banquet and after the race at Homestead, and I felt like personally that countering that with a little bit of a responsibility message was probably not a bad thing to do. And, so I jumped at the opportunity when Miller gave it to me to do something responsibility-wise. So I think it's a great spot as far as that's concerned, and it's just good, I think, for the sport to have, sponsors that activate and put drivers out into the mainstream. And I think that we all reap the benefits for that. So hopefully we'll continue to see more of that. I think we had a lot more commercials in the sport, 5-10 years ago, probably more like 5 years ago. And that was really, really healthy for it. So I'm glad to see Miller step up and do that. And I think it's really healthy for all of us.
Who were the other three guys? Just actors?
Yeah, just actors. I met them, and they're good people. I follow a few of them on Twitter. But, yeah, they were cool dudes.
And the waitress?
She's a singer. Yeah, she's actually really good. She's got like a hit out here in California. Yeah.
Did you get her number?
Maybe. She'll be at the racetrack this weekend.
On a competition note, can you talk a little bit about the parity that you've seen between the three manufacturers so far? Jimmy, when he was in here, he said it was more, he didn't see it as much as a manufacturer situation. He saw it more of a team-by-team basis, but the same cast of characters are up at the top of the leaderboard again.
Yeah, I would agree that there's a lot of parity right now, and I think Jimmy's comments, I haven't seen him verbatim, but from the perspective of a team side, I think he's probably right, with the exception being the restrictor plate tracks, where I think it's pretty obvious that the Chevrolets are a little bit ahead of everybody else. But I think on the non-restrictor plates that there is a lot of parity, and it's really a case of each team and how strong they've come out with their package.
Reed?
Obviously, you'd like to have both, but what's more important here, horsepower or handling? And given the sustained RPMs here, are motor worries an issue at all?
Well, I'm not really sure which one's going to be more important this weekend. Obviously this is a different car and still learning how it's going to react to this style of track because we haven't ran a 2-mile track so far. So, fifth weekend, fifth different style of track. And I'm learning along with you guys. In general, this used to always be a handling track over horsepower, but that might be different with this car. What was the other question?
About the engines and the sustained RPMs.
Yeah, there's no doubt. This new car is so fast, Reed, that we're carrying more speed than we've ever carried pretty much at every track. And I would not be surprised at all if we, broke the track record this weekend because of that. And that's not a bad thing, but that puts a lot of stress on the engines. There's a certain gear ratio that we use to kind of, dictate what RPM band the cars are in. And to this point in the season, we've been using last year's model, which has put more stress on the engines, obviously with more speed. And then maybe that's a good thing too. I don't know. I think that it pushes the teams to make their stuff a little better, and that's what this sport's about. It's about constant evolution.
Go to Mike, Bob, and then Jeff.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Mike.
I think everybody saw what happened at the end of the race last week between Danny and Joey. There's a curiosity, though, because they used to be teammates, as to where this might have come from. You're his teammate now, Joey's teammate. What's your interpretation of what's going on between them right now?
My interpretation? All I saw is that they got in an incident at Bristol. I don't really know about any of the history before that. I haven't asked Joey, I can tell you that. And maybe there was, and maybe there was none at all. I don't know. But my interpretation is that Joey had a really fast car, got spun out, and didn't get to achieve the result I think he felt like he was capable of, and I felt like he was too. And as a driver, I know that's very frustrating. He's had great cars at the start of the year, and little things just kind of keep popping up and holding him back. It's very reminiscent to where I was at the start of maybe 2011. And I know how that eats at you, and you just get madder and madder and more frustrated. And maybe that was good. Maybe that was the release he needed last week, and he can put that behind him and capitalize on the strengths that he has.
It's interesting to me. You think back over the years, the 1979 Daytona 500 comes to mind with the Allisons and Cale Yarborough. What we saw in Phoenix last year with Clint Boyer, these types of things really get people's attention. What do you think these feuds do for the sport?
Well, I hesitate to say that it's just feuds. I think it's authenticity. It's emotions showed with authenticity. I think, whether it's, joy or anger, I think that's what the fans crave. They want to see you be human. And humans are emotional, and they want to see you do it in an authentic way, and certainly a fight is one way, but I think of some happy moments too. Like I think of Darrell Waltrip doing the Icky Shuffle. Those are things that stick in my mind. So I don't think it just has to be a fight. I think a fight is, it's a water cooler conversation. But I just think fans enjoy seeing us show emotion and do it in an authentic way. Not a problem, Mike.
Bob Hocker, Sporting News. You talked about how doing a responsibility message wasn't a bad idea for you. I know you said that you wouldn't change what you did with your celebration last year, but were you taken aback at all about some of the criticism that it was irresponsible?
Not really. No, I mean, I believe in life and balance, and if you're going to have fun, sometimes you got to balance that with something else. And don't get me wrong, I had fun doing the commercial, but it's great to be able to spread the message of, when you do have fun, make sure you do it in a smart way. So no, I got no regrets.
Sure.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. Can you talk about your experience at Idol? I mean, was it awkward sitting there? I mean, because it didn't sound like you knew the show very much. I mean, did you enjoy meeting people?
I learned a lot, and I think it's just good to get out of your element. And American Idol is certainly not my element. I can tell you that. But it's good. Fox is a partner, obviously, of the sport, and Ford is a big partner of American Idol, and so when that opportunity came up with me, I was like, yeah, well, why not? Let's try it and see what I think. I got to admit, I had a lot more fun than what I thought I was going to have. And it's just good for any of us in the sport to kind of branch out and bring people in from other areas.
Did you get recognized? Did you meet anybody? anybody?
Oh yeah, there was quite a few fans, which was cool. Just a lot of people there you wouldn't expect to see, and it's definitely a younger demographic, which I think we could always use in this sport. And it's just kind of interesting to see their reaction and the difference in culture between that world and ours.
We'll go to Jesse, Lewis, and the other lady over here.
Jesse Canuck, NASCAR Productions. You had 2 top 10 finishes last year at Martinsville. Can you talk about going back there in 2 weeks?
Well, Martinsville to me is a place where I have really mixed emotions about. Early in my career, that was a place where I really couldn't find my ass, to be honest. But now, the last few times we've been there, I feel like we've been exceptionally strong. We didn't qualify as well as we wanted to last fall, for sure, and we started in the back, but by the end of the race, we really came on well. And I think going back to Martinsville, we're a lot smarter. I'm a lot wiser as to what I need. And I think this year, I got to be honest, I'm going into Martinsville feeling like we can win the race and feeling like we might be one of the favorites. So we've really turned a corner at that racetrack, and I'm really encouraged by it.
Lewis.
Lewis, Frank Auto Week. Before the season started, some pundits might have questioned how the team was going to handle the transition, and yet we're only 4 races in, so it's very early to ask this question. That said, you're the best performing Ford. You got points and all this other stuff. What's working so well for you? You have a different manufacturer, so what's working so well?
Well, Lewis, I can tell you it's a big weight off of our shoulders to come out the gate that strong, and it's a quick way of quieting all those that said that when we switched to Ford, we were going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's really big for us as a company at Penske Racing, and big for me personally, because it shows the strength that we have at every layer, whether it's as a company at Penske Racing, as a team at the 2-team, or as a driver, crew chief combination, and so forth. And it's something I'm just exceptionally proud of. So looking at that and knowing that, we still haven't reached our potential as far as our Ford relationship is concerned, and that will probably take some time. It makes me feel like when we do realize our potential, that, we can be an elite team for years to come.
Kay Presto, carsandcompetition.com. I haven't heard too much talk about the side drafting with the new car. I know, like he said, it's 4 races in. Is it more so or less than the cars you have been driving in the past, and how does it handle at the various tracks?
Yeah, that's part of the learning process for sure. So far, the tracks that we've been at, Daytona wasn't, as much side drafting as I thought it was going to be, and that might change this weekend. Obviously, with this being the first 2-mile track, in longer straightaways, you have more of an opportunity to do that. But so far, I haven't seen a huge difference compared to last year's car, but I'm still learning, and it could be out there, and I just haven't found it yet. But in general, I think, to answer your second question, the cars are they handle really well. I mean, they have a ton of grip. Sometimes I think they have too much grip. So that's not necessarily a good or a bad thing, because I think we're all learning. There's a certain grip threshold that puts on the most competitive races that fans want to see. And that's the spot that we're all trying to find and dial in. And it's going to be different at each track. So it's hard to create a package that's perfect for every track. But I don't think that we're far off, and we're certainly further ahead than even what I thought we were at the start of the season.
Okay, with 4 lanes of racing here, how are you going to rely on your spotter more because there is more lanes? And how will you be communicating with your spotter and back and forth?
Well, I think you look at this track, and like I said, with having so many different lanes, especially when someone runs the top, that you can really easily clear them through the center of the corner, and they can be back, in a very compromising position by the time you get to the corner exit. And that's all right in your blind spot. So you definitely rely on a spotter here as much or more so than any other track, especially if it turns into a race like I was talking about earlier where, you'll see a lot of drafting down the straightaway. I would put this track, maybe one step below Daytona and Talladega as far as how much you rely on a spotter.
Wolfgang.
Wolfgang Monza, Ranchport Press Agency. Brad, can you give some information about your own team, your truck team? Who will race? Will you race by yourself? Again, a couple of races. And now being so busy as a Sprint Cup driver, do you really have time to be involved in the day-to-day business?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Well, I've got Ryan Blaney driving the truck. I've had 2 trucks running this year, one with Ryan Blaney and a second truck, which is split up between me, Joe Logano, and Ross Chastain. And we might even sneak in Dave Blaney for Eldora, which I think we're all looking forward to that race weekend. And I keep hearing how he's one of the winningest drivers ever there. So if he's listening, no pressure, Dave. But we're really excited about the program that we have there with 2 full-time trucks, and it's that program is my way of kind of giving back to the sport with trying to provide opportunities for future drivers, and not just that, but crew members or car chiefs, mechanics, over-the-wall guys, crew chiefs even. So to see that program run is a lot of fun for me, and hopefully to see it be successful is really the end goal, and that will provide future opportunities for all those people. That's what I really want to see. I want to see them grow within the sport, not just for my own brand, but for theirs as well. And as I look at that, I can't obviously micromanage that program. I've got a lot of other commitments, and I think that's good. I think that means that any success that group has, they've earned on their own, and I want it to be that way. So, hopefully that'll happen, and hopefully I provided the resources they need to do just that.
All right, we'll finish up with Lee.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Have you talked to Joey at all about the distraction of getting into it with Denny Hamlin and kind of keeping his eyes on the prize? Because if he's distracted, it's not helping your effort either.
No, not really. And I think he's obviously younger than I am, but I think it'd be foolish to underestimate him and his maturity. I think he's probably got a good handle on that himself.
All right, thanks, Brad. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you,
Good luck
guys.
this weekend.